Hi, I'm Joni Jarrett, and I wanted to tell you a God encounter story that we had in Edinburgh, Scotland. Our story begins this day when we were doing street church, and it was a Saturday afternoon, and it was very rainy and cold and dreary, but there was a group of boys that I noticed standing off to the left after I was singing, and they were very attentive to the music, and so they caught my eye, and after I finished singing, I thought I would go down to them. There were probably 6 of them standing in a semicircle, so I came down off the 4 or 5 step stage, and I walked over to them and I introduced myself, and I said, "Hi, I'm Joni," and I said, "Did you like the music?" And they said, yeah, they liked it, and I asked them where they were from, and the normal chit chat that you do, and so I was noticing there was a leader that was very vocal, and he began to just outright tell me. He said, "Hey," he said, "I'm going to hell." And I said, "Why is that?" He said, "Because I've already committed a sin, homosexuality, and I've already, have that lifestyle, and I've had that lifestyle, so according to the Bible," he said, "I know I'm going to hell." And I said, "The Bible doesn't say that." I said, "It's not what it says." And so he says, "Well, I know that there's no literal hell," and he tried to go down the route of being an atheist as well, and you could just tell that he was very nervous and worried about his life. And so he just kind of tried to engage me into a kind of an argument, and I just decided I'm not going to kind of argue, but I suddenly began to understand these kids. I could see them in their eyes that they were lost, and they were lonely, and they were misunderstood, and there were about 6 guys, and they were anywhere between 17 and 19, and so I explained to them what the Bible actually said, and about the love of God, and how anything is forgivable. Anything that you want to talk to the Lord about, He's available to do so. And he said, well, anyway, I don't remember what he said, but after that, I had this inspiration and this God thought suddenly, and I said to them, "Have you ever been to church?" And all of them had not been to church, except the one leader he had one time for a wedding or something. And I asked them, I said, "Have you ever felt the love of God in your life, ever?" And he said, "No." And so I looked at them all just really staring at me quietly, and I just felt the love of God well up into my heart. And I didn't ask the leader, but the guy beside him, I said, "Would you like a hug?" And he said, he kind of looked uncomfortably for a moment around his friends, and he said, "Oh, I guess." So I put my arms around him, and I held him like I would one of my boys. And then I looked at the boy beside him, and I said, "Would you like a hug?" And he said, "Yes." So I hugged him, and I went down the line to the other 2, and I hugged them. And one boy, I put my hand on his hair like I would my boys, and I said, "You need a haircut," like a mom. And I felt the tangible love of God flowing, not my love, but the love of God flowing from me to them. And then I looked at the leader, I said, "Well," and he goes, "I'll have one of them." And so I hugged him, and I looked at them all, and I'm now crying like I am now. And I said to them, "Now you can never say that you've never felt the love of God. You just felt the love of God." I said, "He loves you, and I love you." And I really didn't have an agenda. I just wanted them to know that God loved them. And they stayed the rest of the day. And they were completely engaged in what was going on for the rest of the day, and I know that they'll be back.